Unfortunately, the KC right now is 5,798, which is just absolutely crazy. What's going on, everybody? Today, I'm going to be bringing to the channel something pretty different than what our regular content is. That's typically Iron Man Gim progression or some sort of raid progression, right? Well, we're not doing any of that today. Today, I am on my original main normal account, and we're going to be doing some PKing, some PvP in the wilderness. This is not something I traditionally do, but as you just saw in the opening clip, yeah, we are very dry on the Void Waker Blade at Calvarion on our maxed GM Gim. So today, with the recent inspiration from Deadman All-Stars, I'm going to try my hand at some PK. So I guess we're pretty much going to roll the quote-unquote highlight clips. I say in quotations because I'm not exactly a good PKer by any stretch of the imagination, although most of these clips I am just picking on Calvarion PVMers, right? We either spoon the Void Waker Blade or you live long enough to become the PKer. We're on the other side of the wilderness. You know, on the Iron Man, we're complaining about our dryness, we're complaining about being interrupted by PKers, but here I am, I'm like, you know what, let me see what it feels like to be on the other side. So yeah, with the recent inspiration from Deadman All-Stars, I pretty much kept up with it all week, and as of recording right now, the finale actually hasn't happened yet, so very excited to watch that. But in the meantime, I'm doing this. So yeah, it's just going to be a highlight reel of the few PKs I got. There were some lowlights, pretty low lowlights, but you know, me being the content creator, I'm going to be honest here, and I did filter those out. I just couldn't stomach throwing those in because I did lose a bit of GP. And the thing is, it wasn't so much about losing the GP. It was more so in the fashion that I lost it in. What I learned in my 2 to 3 days of being in the wilderness so far as the PKer is that there's a lot of messy, slimy things happening in the wilderness. This is something I always knew, but in just a small time frame that I've experienced it in, and like when you think you expect the worst, you gotta go a step beyond that. Like it gets even worse than that. Later on in this video, you'll see one such example of someone that I had an interaction with earlier in the day or even the day before, and they just happened to hop to my world again, and yeah, they were just, you know, dropping insults and stuff and here and there. Like they have me on a list or something, I'm sure of it. Like this guy's just big mad because I wasn't dumb enough to fall for his multi-bait, right? And this guy has been known to target other people that I've actually talked to previously too, and I'm sure it wouldn't be surprising if some of you out there that have done Calvarion specifically have ran into this guy as well. Yeah, basically in short, the wilderness is notorious for people just throwing insults, general harassment, people tricking you into multi, or just tricking you in general. Like you see here in the Rev Caves, I did try my hand at that. It is singles plus, so when you hop over those shortcuts, a lot of the times the downtime is long enough for someone else to tag you. So that's exactly how I died, by the way. I was attacking someone supposedly farming revs here, and then they ran away, and his friend or whatever, you know, they're sitting in a Discord call with like 10 people or something, logged in and they caught me out, which, you know, I could have survived. I'm just not good enough. Like I reacted slowly, but it's just things like that, right? Also, before I even actually started my PK session on here, I was doing the Wilderness Hard Diary, right? This is so that I could actually drop into these singles bosses. And while I was killing a lava dragon, because that's a Wilderness Hard Diary task, these two pures, like 1 defense accounts, logged in. Now keep in mind, I'm a maxed account, 99 defense, right? So these pures, level 1 defense, and at this point, I had like an air battle staff, and I was just casting airstrike or something on lava dragons, and I'm just trying to do the task, and this guy starts attacking me. But the funny thing is, he kept hitting like 1s and 0s, and then it being a multi-zone, his friend logged in who is also a pure, and they both started attacking me. Now my inventory just has like a couple of pieces of sharks, Not even a prayer potion, because I was like, you know what, I'm risking nothing. I just need to kill this lava dragon. I honestly don't care if I die. But these pures did no damage to me, and then they got so mad that they also started hurling like insults and stuff. And I don't even know what exactly they said. Obviously, it was bad enough to where the game censored it, even though I don't have censorship on. Like, you can drop the typical swear words in the chat and I'll see it. But you gotta be saying some racist stuff or something for the game to actually censor it themselves, even with the censorship off. So, yeah. That's been what's happening in the wilderness in a nutshell. And keep in mind, this is just 2 to 3 days, and that specific instance was before I even started pking anybody. And to further explain just how toxic the wilderness gets, you can see in all of these clips I have private off. Now, typically I have private set to friends anyways. I just didn't want to bother the people I had on my friends list because I was constantly world hopping, right? So I decided to turn it off. But if you're someone that typically has private on, it is very important to turn it off, because these people will add you to their friends list and they'll start hunting you and scouting you out. Which leads me to my next point. Even though I have private off and there's no way they can add me to their friends list and scout me that way, what they can do is they'll look up my username on websites like Temple OSRS or Wise Old Man. These are third-party stat tracking websites, and oftentimes there's clan involvements in these too, right? You know, when clans run skill of the week, boss of the week, or a bingo, or any type of like group event, there'll usually be a clan made in Wise Old Man or Temple OSRS or whatever other third-party site. So I'm obviously part of a clan, and when they look up my name, they can see that I'm in the clan. And so they actually started guesting, joining the clan channels, and then trying to scout me out that way. And they would use multiple accounts, and honestly, like I said earlier, or I think I said earlier, but I think in one specific instance that I dealt with, it was just one person with multiple accounts. Side note, if you guys have made it this far into the video, do let me know how you feel about this type of content on the channel. Again, this is completely different than what I traditionally do, but I am looking to, you know, do more things. There's a lot of things, a lot of different areas of the game that we can cover in RuneScape, not just the typical Iron Man progression. So, yeah, I know I'm not the best PKer or PvPer by any stretch of the imagination, but I am picking up a couple of kills here and there, and for what it's worth in LMS, I do oftentimes win a game or two, and especially get like second, third places or whatever. So I'd like to say I'm like slightly above average. I don't know. Who knows though? There are giga PKers out there. Speaking of which, in my first hour of PKing, I actually fought another PKer by the Wilderness Altar, and I was actually winning, but I was just nervous because I just got started, so I decided to dip out, right? And then I returned to the Wilderness Altar, and I was expecting to maybe see the same guy. While I did see that guy, I also saw another person who instantly jumped on me, and this guy was in essentially a max set. So this guy essentially called his big brother on me. That's what happened. Like, this guy was in Virtus, Purging Staff, Eladinus Ward Fortified. He had the Bofa set, Crystal Armor, Avernic Treads, you know, the works, right? And in all honesty, in that first hour of my PK session, I should have died. I was completely out of food. I was 29 health. I was tele-blocked. And somehow this guy gapped himself, and I got away with it. So I know I said later on I did die and I lost a bit of GP, but I guess I was playing with house money at that point, because I should have died in my first hour, but I didn't. And I went on like 2 to 3 more days, and then I finally died, albeit in a slimy fashion, like I said. Like, I would have rather died to that first guy, because if it's a guy in a max set that's just way better than me at PKing, fair play, right? But nope, I died to some cheese. It is what it is. A little bit of a bitter taste in my mouth, but again, it is what it is, right? But yeah, just another example of why the wilderness, honestly, kind of sucks. I feel like people who say otherwise, like, now, are kind of just coping, or they're the type of people like that guy I mentioned with multiple accounts, just hurling insults all day, every day, and multi-baiting people, using multiple clients, probably multi-boxing, because what they do is here at Calvarion, just to the south, there's actually a tower. I'm actually in multi right now, which is a little bit scary, but there's a tower further south, and they'll park a bunch of accounts up the tower, hoping that the PKer will run up there, and then they just stack the person out with like 2 billion specs, right? And there's like 8 accounts up there or something. So yeah, if you're doing Calvarion, whether you're a PKer or PVMer, do keep that in mind. But that's essentially what happens. And again, I just want to emphasize the way they go about it. They're literally just dropping slurs and stuff. And like, this guy made an Iron Man account, not to actually play the Iron Man game mode, but for the sole purpose of pretending to do Calvarion and luring people. I don't know about you guys, but I just find that like incredibly weird behavior. It's like, do you actually play this game, or do you just go on the game and use it as a platform to harass people? And I don't know, these have to be like gold sellers or something, right? Like, there's no way that you value the GP that much in a game, and this is all you do all day, every day. You harass people, you trick people in the wilderness for some pixel coins. I don't know. I'm making some assumptions here, but I just can't understand it, you know? On the flip side, there are some positive interactions in the wilderness, believe it or not. But unfortunately, how it is, well, let's just lay it out like this. Let's say you have 10 interactions, right? About half of those, just absolutely nothing happens. Like no chat message or anything. Both parties just move on with their day. But then I'd say like 3 to 4 of those are just incredibly negative, and I feel like it's just human nature. Those negative ones will always stick out to a person. And then there are some good moments, like actually, funny enough, I think this was a clip earlier in the video, but I actually was about to PK a fellow viewer of the channel, but I decided to off him, you know? He was like, "I watch your videos." And I don't know, if I was like Odablock or something, I mean, like 99% of the player base will watch my videos, so I can't exactly not fight someone, otherwise I'm just never gonna get any content out of it, right? But I'm always genuinely surprised when anybody I see in the game recognizes me on any of my accounts. So, and afterwards, you know, after I TP'd out and let him go, we had a nice conversation at the Gnome Stronghold, so that was pretty cool. But that's kind of like an exception, right? Like me being a content creator, someone recognized me for my videos. But also, there was an interesting scenario where this guy actually apologized to me for not having any loot as I PK'd him. I kind of felt bad, actually, because I'm like, why is this guy apologizing? And you could tell that he wasn't saying that like sarcastically either. And I actually ran into him a few more times. But, you know, those other times he was quick on the teleports. I guess in summary, whenever you're interacting with people, whether in person or online, but especially in the online space, there's always going to be a lot of negative things, and you kind of just have to ignore it, right? But the thing is, in the wilderness, this is next to impossible to ignore. And keep in mind, I already had like a vague understanding of how negative things could be in the wilderness, being an experienced player. But imagine being a genuine new player. Someone tells you about the wilderness and, you know, like all the content that you could possibly do in there with all the bosses and all the things. Oh, there's also PvP. That sounds pretty cool, right? So you try your hand at the wilderness, but then like it's all convoluted, like being skulled or not skulled at different areas in the game. Like, honestly, you can't even tell very clearly what is a multi-zone and what isn't without those multi-line plugins. Like, besides that, there's a very tiny icon on your screen that will warn you. That's about it. And then, you know, there's also, like, entrance fees to the bosses or, like, diary requirements. It's very complicated. Also, depending on where you die, how you die, who you die to, you know, like, what you lose varies, right? There's trover parchments that will like save some of your items, but then you're going to repair it. Like, the list goes on and on and on about how complicated the wilderness is, and it feels like every update that they do to the wilderness, it's two things. It's a band-aid fix to address bot problems, which only actually further complicates it for real players, and two, it's like really arbitrary things that kind of just incentivize people, PVMers, people that have no, people that like don't have any intention of actually doing the PvP portion of things, and they just want to PVM. But things are so good that it makes it hard for people to pass up, right? Like even to this day, any wilderness content actually just hands out GP for free, essentially, with little to no requirements. And essentially, PVMers are loot pinatas, and then you have the PKers. And then, I know it's a little ironic because here I am picking on the PVMers as the PKer perspective, but this is like 99% of the wilderness. This is what it is. Like, you won't find too many people actually trying to fight. And then, in my personal experience, the few times where I fought, like, people that fought back, there was some cheese going on. Like, they're multi-baiting. They got some, like, Giga Max guy, like, ready to log in on me and stuff like that. Yeah, it's just very slimy is the word I'm looking for. So, I don't know. Again, do let me know what you guys think of this type of content in the wilderness. I'm personally not a big fan, but obviously, I tried my hand at this. PvP is kind of fun. I might stick more to LMS after this. At least I don't lose anything, and I know I'm getting into fair 1v1s. Although I will say, recently, I did an LMS game where I fought this guy, like, we both did like 300, 400 damage to each other, so we were out of food, and he just logs out of the game. So I don't get the kill, and I don't get the refresh of my supplies in my inventory, so essentially I just handed the next guy a free kill because, well, there's nothing I could do. So yeah, even in LMS, there was some slimy behavior. Yeah, I don't know. This is why people avoid the wilderness and PvP content in this game. But yeah, those are my closing thoughts, I guess. I'm going to let the rest of this video play out. There wasn't too much more else going on. That's pretty much been my wilderness experience.